Greetings, greetings and welcome to this second lecture of our Bulletin of Near Eastern Excavations and Research. I am Valentina Santini, and as I mentioned in the past lecture last week, I am the one who will manage, moderate these lectures, these encounters. This series of online lectures, which are focused on the Near East and more specifically on current archaeological excavations and projects in the Near East, is intended to inform and to update, of course, the scientific public and university students, but also since we are live, you have the possibility to ask questions to our speakers. So if you have doubts, if you are curious about something, you just have to write your questions in the chat, which is next to the video in the YouTube page. And at the end of the lecture, I'm going to read those questions to our speakers. Well, now I think it's time to introduce our speakers, and they will talk about Urkesh and its global record. But actually today, as you can see, we will have a plethora of speakers, literally from all over the world. But for now, let me introduce Giorgio Buccellati and Merilyn Kelly-Buccellati, professors emeriti from the Qassar Institute of Archaeology, UCLA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valentina. We will begin our presentation with the title. Yes, you can see on your screen. The title is Urkesh Beyond Urkesh, which may seem a bit strange, but our physical presence from the site for almost 10 years, because of course of the war, but we are present in every other way. That is why beyond means for us here today, beyond the excavations. So how does this fit in with the Qamishli bulletin, which is devoted to excavations and research? Well, you will be the judge, but we think it is highly pertinent. We could say that the impact of the excavations goes well beyond the moment of the excavations. Our outline is simple enough. Yesterday is the long yesterday of Urkesh history, the 3 millennia of history ending 3 millennia ago. Today is the 10 years of war. How has Urkesh remained alive with a new life that empowers the local communities? And tomorrow is how we plan to make Urkesh last, not only through the empowerment of the local communities, but through a very special kind of record, which we want to illustrate to you. In a nutshell, here is our talk today. A city that goes back 6 millennia is still alive today with the communities that live there. And we will show you at the end the Urkesh Global Record, which will continue to keep it alive. We are all the guests of history, and we want to give you first a brief overview of the 3 millennia of the site. The site is in the northeastern corner of modern Syria, and as you will see here, a very, very fertile area. We will give you a bird's eye view, and here we'll begin with the 4th millennium. Urkesh is one of the first cities in history, anteceding other major Syrian cities like Ebla and Mari. We have in the 4th millennium the corner of a temple that is securely dated to around 3500 BC. Immediately below the temple terrace that you can see here noted of around 2600 BC. The temple is well preserved Well, we only have a corner of it, but we think it'll be more or less like this when we have excavated it. It is located very high on the profile of the tell, some 20 meters above the plain level, which means that at this very early date, the city was already large in size and somewhat as suggested in the profile in red. This is our reconstruction, obviously. Urkesh reached its apogee in the 3rd millennium. The monumental staircase leading to the ED3 temple overlays the older access to the 4th millennium temple, so you don't see that anymore. A deep necromantic pit is known in Hurrian as the Abbey, and it's about the same time period. Equally monumental was the royal palace of the Akkadian period. And if you see the arrow there, it indicates an imposing stone courtyard. It is a monumental structure which held in its matrix of accumulations above its floors of very tiny pieces of clay, like the one shown here in the hand. And they're fragile also, very fragile. They had to be retrieved with painstaking care. And out of some 10,000 fragments, we were able to retrieve more than 1,000 with impressions of cylinder seals and with cuneiform inscriptions. And many of these represented in word and image the royal family. And here you see more images of the royal family, as well as other members of the court. In the 2nd millennium, Urkesh loses its importance. And I will leave you with this figurine, with this striking personality, to end this brief carousel of Urkesh images.
Now I will introduce myself again, and I want to imitate our president-elect, Joe Biden, who the other day in his memorable victory speech introduced himself in this way, the way which I would do now. That is, I am Merilyn's husband. That was a very touching moment, I thought. And what I'm going to do now to, as a follow-up to the chronological overview of Merilyn, is to say a few words about the Hurrians, which were the people inhabiting Urkesh. And it's really one of the major reasons why Urkesh is important is the fact that it is the earliest Hurrian known city. This lion, which is now in the Metropolitan, and this one, which is in the Louvre, have inscribed in their cuneiform text the word of Urkesh, but we did not know where they came from because they had been excavated illegally before our excavations. And we have given a home, as it were, to these two documents, which are the oldest, were the oldest known texts or in Hurrian language. But now we have our own text, particularly the seal inscriptions, like the one Merilyn showed before, which give the name not only of the city, but also of the king. And this little tablet, which may look like not being very important, but it is instead of great significance. It is an administrative text, and the fact that it has clear indications that it was in Hurrian indicates that Hurrian was not just a language for the royal inscriptions, but also for the administration. In other words, was a common language used in the city. Merilyn has already shown you the Abbey, which is a typical Hurrian thing. It's this necromantic shaft. And here I'll show you a rather fantastic image by an artist of the National Geographic rendering the rituals that would have taken place in it. The staircase, which is our sort of icon for the lecture, is the major staircase to the temple, which is at the top. Here you have another view of the same. And what is characteristic of it is that the arrangement of the space is quite different from that of the ziggurats in the south. The ziggurat stands alone and is visible from all around. Here instead, there is a very frontal, first of all, it's very asymmetrical arrangement of the temple terrace shown by the lines that identify the perimeter. And especially it has a frontal view. This image that Merilyn showed you already is meant to convey the sense of how the temple terrace echoes the mountains in the background. And this reminds me of the beautiful talk by Chiara Pappalardo last week in the other lecture of this series, where she spoke of the ancestral landscape. Well, the temple terrace in a way symbolizes the connection with the mountains from which presumably the Hurrians had come. So with this, we go on to the second major part of our talk. Heritage is really not a thing that is passed on. It is something that lives in the people who inherit it. That's really a major lesson that we have learned. We have never set out really originally to investigate people's heritage, much less that of people from another country, but we have come to learn more and more what the strong tie there is between the people and the territory in which they live. So these young people, this is a picture taken a couple of years ago in the middle of the war. You must always remember that everything we are showing you, basically from now on, has taken place during the 10 years of war. And the images that you will see contrast very sharply with all the other pictures that we were seeing in the news. Now, to bring alive the staircase and the people, we would like to introduce you now to Amer. Amer Ahmad is our staff archaeologist in Syria, and he's now at the site, and he's going to now show us the staircase. It is late in Mosul, and it's already dark, and Ahmed and Amer was able to organize this light show. He's here together with Mohammed Omo, who is our guard next to him, and Ahmad and Ibrahim, who are also working on our staff there. We will see them again several times during the talk. Amer, it's up to you.
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say hello for everyone now watching us from Florence. We are talking to you from Syria, from the site of Egypt or case on the staircase, a staircase that belongs to its people. We almost 5,000 years ago. It is, as you see, it is preserved as it was 10 years ago when the excavation started in 2011. It's well preserved despite the ferocity of the war in Syria, which we have been facing it since 2011, and despite the physical absence of our colleagues who live outside of Syria, but they have never left us alone here. We all.
I'm sorry. Would
Syria.
it be possible to come closer to the microphone?
Voice.
Or to speak louder?
Okay. okay?
Yeah, if you can speak louder,
Is it
because unfortunately the connection is a bit unstable and we can't hear you correctly.
okay? I will repeat.
Thank you.
Uh, I would like to say hello to everyone now watching us from Florence, from Italy. We are talking to you from Syria, from the site of ancient Urkesh. We are standing on the staircase of Urkesh temple, which dates back to almost 5,000 years ago. It's well preserved. It's preserved, as you see, as you see, as it was when the excavations stopped 10 years ago. It's well preserved despite the ferocity of the war, which has been facing us since 2011. And we are, and despite the physical absence of our colleagues which live, who live outside of Syria, uh, we were in regular connection. They never left us alone. They everyone here in Syria and abroad shared the same feeling for all cases. We do together much work uh, here, and this soul, exactly this soul, is really the symbol of that communication which continues several this years. Uh, we do much work together, as I said, like such as regarding maintenance and restoration, such as wall, uh, uh, temple wall maintenance and periodic change of the barrel of wall in the palace and removing hair and other several parts. Just I would like to present you Muhammad Omo, the god of the Orchid mission. He would like to display some of our work in Urkesh. We are a local team here in Syria. Muhammad will speak in Arabic. I am so glad to translate into English language. Muhammad.
السلام إلى جميع أصدقائنا في الخارج وفي الداخل. نحن جروب نشتغل في تل موزان.
We are a group working in Tel Mozan,
والدعم المادوي من الخارج.
and they are support us from the outside of Syria.
وكانوا البعثة
And everyone is a problem.
Is there a problem? Everything okay?
نحن نشتغل في تل موزان.
We are working in Tel Mozan
كانوا البعثة موجودة إن يجينا الدعم المادي من الخارج.
as exactly as our colleagues are exactly.
كانوا داعش وحتى اليوم كان جات المكان اللي هو عندما سافر المعلم.
And every moment, all the moments in Urkesh, were as it were in 2011.
ودائما في تواصل معنا حتى اليوم من الوردة السورية.
They are always in a connection with us. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Muhammad. I would say that Urkesh was in connection, a regular connection with the local community and the people coming.
Audio. We're losing you. I think we may have lost you. We lost the sound. But I think the major point was made, and so we can go on then with the rest of our presentation. This was really the, here are the names, Amer, Mohammed Omo, Hamade, Hamza, and Ibrahim Khalou that you have just seen. And here you see them in a picture taken with Yasmine on the right in 2016 when she visited the site. I want to show you very briefly the first part of what makes it all possible is really the conservation program. And here you see the same people. There is Hamade, Mohammed, here in the foreground, who are taking care of the staircase, a big staircase. And here again, Amer and him. And the date is very important, October 22nd, 2015. On the same day, the New York Times published this map, and you can see how the ISIS had extended to within some 35 miles of the site of Urkesh. And the fact that our people are working so quietly there is really impressive. Now, the purpose of conservation is to maintain the site because the weather is really very harsh. There is snow and water, and our system is extremely simple, but very, very effective. We have these burlap curtains that are hanging from a trellis. They can be mended. We're very proud of the of the modesty of the whole approach. Here you can see it's Ibrahim in this case, who is mending and patching the burlaps. The site presentation comes next. You see, once we have conserved the site, we want to present it well to people. And here we have Federico Buccellati, who is our son, but he's the director now of the Lausanne Archaeological Project. He cannot, unfortunately, be with us today. Here he is presenting the site in person to Martin Sheen, who is one of the great actors. He's on the board of our institute, and he came for a visit. And here, Federico is showing it to a group of colleagues from Tel Huera, the German excavations. We have two major types of signage system. These panoramic panels, which explain the history from a vantage point, and then these which we call the footnotes. They give details which are of interest not just for the general visitor, but also really for colleagues who visit the site when we are not there. Now, all of this signage, which adds up to about 200 pages of text. So it's really, we like to call it the site as a book. This signage is extremely simple too, just like the conservation system. By the way, here you also see the curtain that protects the section as well as the walls. The fact that it is so simple means that it can be maintained easily. And here you see them during, this was taken also a couple of years ago, maintaining the stands and painting them. This is Hamade who is painting the storage.
Because the site is so well preserved and presented, it is worth visiting. And we have had a constant stream of visitors during our physical absence. And you can see from the dates and the slides, we have large family groups, as you can see here, and we have students. Look at the date, November 8th, just a few days ago. And the students from the local university went there, and their interest in our signage is impressive. The signs are in English and in Arabic, and we've also prepared a booklet in Kurdish. We have advanced plans for an eco-archaeological park, which our project will implement as soon as conditions allow. And the interesting thing about the ecological park is also that it includes the landscape, the preservation of this very beautiful Syrian landscape. In anticipation of having the park operational, we have embarked on two projects, and one is this women's atelier. Look at the beautiful things that they are making. Wonderful dolls. And the second program is that the local Syrians, including Amer, who you've just met, went to the local villages and gave presentations of the history and importance of preserving the site. And you see the two of us here, Giorgio and myself, standing in Italy, in a snow-covered Italy, to give them this part of this presentation. And here is Amer in a school, and our guard, the children from the village, but our guard here in the first row. Another part of the project has been a whole series of exhibits, which we have done almost every year. And the first one has a truly historical meaning. It's an exhibit that was commissioned by the US ambassador in Damascus, and it was held in the beautiful garden of the house of the ambassador in Damascus. Okay, so this is 2010. The following year, 2011, it was displayed in the National Museum in Damascus. And here is the announcement on the embassy's website. Here we have officials representing the Syrian Ministry of Culture and the embassy visiting the exhibit in the museum. And this final slide shows you why it's so significant. This is a slide from the Syrian news agency website, a report on the exhibit with a picture of the two flags, Syrian and American. And the date is March 2nd, 2011. A few days later, unfortunately, the war broke out. And it has been 10 years since we have seen these two flags flying side by side. And the smallest exhibit is one we're extremely proud of. It was held in a mud brick room very near our site, and the pictures were all installed and organized by the local people. We had also in 2014 a major exhibit in Rimini in Italy. More than 25,000 people went to 1 week that it was open. The following year, we took a smaller version of this exhibit to Qamishli, the city that's near our site, and it was also very, very well received. From Qamishli, this exhibit went in 2015 to the nearby city of Ahmad. And we like to contrast this picture with these people carrying the posters of the exhibit to set it up there with this one. The one showing the dreaded ISIS convoys that in those days were traveling the nearby roads. But let's go back to something positive. Here we see the young people in Ahmad who are putting up the exhibit. And again, we can contrast this to what ISIS was doing nearby. We had in 2016 an exhibit at the American University at Beirut. And here you see it in one of these beautiful halls of the museum at the university. And here is a poster of the exhibit that was also taken in 2017 to Qamishli, and with the poster at the entrance. And here is a blow up of the poster with Amer, who you've already met. And this is one of the rooms of the exhibit in 2017 in Qamishli. And just to give you a short summary, in 2018, we had an exhibit devoted entirely to our community archaeology work in Leiden, in Rimini, in Damascus. In 2019, we brought it to Los Angeles, and it was also in Aleppo. Now I want to pass on to two more projects taking place in other parts of the world. I'm introducing Stefania, who will tell us about the school project. Your turn, Stefania.
Yes, thank you, Merilyn. Good evening, everyone. Yes, so we have read or heard already the words archaeology for a young future. So the Termozan Urkesh archaeological project, as we have heard already, has always been characterized by a strong educational effort. So even when the mission was still on the site, the archaeologists were always trying to raise awareness in local communities on the importance of the past, also for finding an identity by looking at the past from where we become. So when we couldn't go on the site anymore, the project decided to continue this educational effort. And we were particularly keen on continue this dialogue that has started decades before with the young generations, so particularly with students in schools. So we started in 2017-18 with two schools, one in Domodossola and one in Qamishli. That was a language school in Qamishli, which is the Syrian city, which is the closest to the site of Termozan. And as many activities carried out in Termozan, we have used a very simple approach and very simple technology. So the students just needed a laptop and an internet connection. But the results were really surprising and amazing, because the Italian students got to learn more about the Syrian side. And they even got to learn about their own cultural heritage. And the Syrians on their side, they were very interested in exploring a whole new world to them. And together they reflected upon the importance of the past. And ultimately they found out that the past was something they shared. And especially the past, both in terms of archaeology. So we organized trips to the sites. For the Syrians, they went, as we have seen together with Amer, they went to Urkesh, but also the students in Italy, they learned more about the history of their own region. What we are really proud of is that this really simple approach and simple technology has allowed us to continue this project even now, notwithstanding the pandemic and the fact that many schools are closed, and we will hear more about it in a few minutes. But I would like just to say that yesterday evening, during the first ever virtual ceremony, European Heritage Awards ceremony, we have been awarded for this Archaeology for a Young Future project. We have been awarded one of the Elucidare special prizes in particular for the heritage-led international relation. These prizes, Elucidare special prizes, are rather unique. It was the first ever time that they were organized. They were organized within the Europa Nostra Award, which are the Europe's most important honor in the field of cultural heritage. So we are indeed very proud of this achievement. And I simply wanted to highlight what the jury saw in this project. So they believe that through a shared vision of cultural heritage, Archaeology for a Young Future allows children, school staff, and communities in Italy and Syria to forge bonds in a spirit of mutual understanding, respect, and friendship. And what they have particularly appreciated is the bottom-up and easily replicable approach and project that demonstrate that heritage-led international relations can happen among people and communities in the ground. So again, we are still continuing this project, though in a different format. but the results of these first years of collaborations with schools, now not only in Italy and Syria, but also in Greece and in other countries, as we will hear. So it really showing everyone, even adults and archaeologists, how important is the past. And it's also proving that archaeology is not just unveiling ancient remains, but it's also finding new identities today for all generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefania. And we want to continue the talking about the school project from the viewpoint of Syria, which Yasmine will do. Now, you saw this picture of Yasmine at the site. She is in Damascus, and she will give us a view of the school project from Syria. And Yasmine, please do that. God damn it.
Thank you, Merilyn, and good evening to everyone. I am currently in Damascus, and I have been in Damascus for the past 10 years because it was very important also for the project, because I act basically as a coordinator for the missions activities in Syria. And I am constantly in contact on a daily basis with our friends in Mozan that you just saw, Amer, Ibrahim, Hammade, and Muhammad Omo. So I coordinate the various aspects of the work that we do, conservation work, where I am with them step by step. In case there are any problems, I take care of some logistics and the daily and the monthly reports and documentations that we receive. And I also helped in coordinating, of course, the school project that was happening in Mozan. And I also met with the students who participated in the school project. I went to visit them when I went to Qamishli with Amer, and they had a lot of questions, and they were very enthusiastic, and they were very excited to be part of this project. What I noticed is that how meaningful these projects can be for these young people and for also my generation of archaeologists. Because, well, I have to say, I consider myself to be very lucky to be working, first of all, with archaeologists who understand actually understand the ethical aspect of archaeology, because once we free something from the earth, it's our duty and it's our job to preserve it, protect it, and present it to the public, which is what those students actually got to experience by going to Mozan and seeing that there is actually something to see, and it's very well explained, and it's very understandable and very relatable actually to different generations of people. And this is very meaningful also for me to see that not only the school project is continuing, but the various aspects of the projects that we are carrying are continuing, despite the fact that so many times the odds were not in our favor because of the war and because everything is becoming more and more difficult. So for me as a Syrian, it was very, very touching and moving, and it was very meaningful and had a very deep effect on my life, because I see that this project did not abandon Mozan, did not abandon its citizens, not only on the financial level, but also on the moral level, providing this much moral support, seeing this kind of loyalty towards the site was very touching and moving also for me. And what I am noticing more and more in the recent years is how having such projects like the school project that we had and that we are continuing to have with different schools now, it's helping to develop a generation, develop a generation of archaeologists who are very keen to learning about this discipline, and who are asking actually more and more to be part of the project. We are receiving many requests from the young generation of archaeologists who saw our work and who are very excited to join our team, who are requesting to be part of this team. So this is the deep impact that these projects have on people, because they see the value in what we do, and they see actually what archaeology is capable of doing beyond just the excavation work. So it had a deep effect on me on the personal level and on the academic level, of course, on my career, and I can see how it's impacting also the younger generation. So it's amazing, and I feel very blessed to be part of it. So thank you.
Brava, brava, very, very interesting. And now we have another speaker from Syria. Hiba is a distinct privilege we have of having Hiba on our team because she grew up in Qamishli. So she's what we call a daughter of Urkesh. She joined our excavations when she was very young and went on to get her PhD in Florence, where she now directs the one-on-one project. Hiba, we would like to hear your input.
Thank you very much. Well, yeah, actually, as Merilyn mentioned, I joined the excavation in Tel Mozan when I was 19 years old. And since then, I was eager not to miss any excavation season until I moved to Italy to start my PhD. What was really impressive for me from the beginning about the excavation of Tel Mozan was the social dimension of archaeology, which the project offered, especially for locals. So as a result, my PhD and my career later was a reflection on this experience, pushing me to ask as a Syrian and as an archaeologist, what can archaeology do out of academia to build cohesive societies in the Middle East, and how can archaeologists participate in bridging the gap between locals and archaeological sites in the region. So I think the long years of Syrian war, followed by global pandemic and other crises, highlighted the sustainable and resilient approach of the various community archaeology initiatives in Tel Mozan, which now the one-on-one project makes part of. So the project was, the one-on-one project is a continuation of what started before and was trying to adapt to the new safety measures caused by COVID-19, leading to school closures in many countries around the world. So while some countries were offered remote learning, Syrian students, due to the lack of resources and many difficulties, were left without online learning. Therefore, our concerns went to young students aged between 12 and 14. So the one-on-one project started in June 2020 to include a group of school students from Syria, Italy, Greece, and later China, who were eager to discover themselves through their heritage and share it with their peers around the world using their own prospects and talents. What we were looking to achieve was a personal approach in which participants can be the protagonist as individuals of the project. So we were looking to see the heritage through their eyes and listen to history through their parlance. In the same time, we were also keen to consolidate their hard and soft skills through the various phases of the project. And different from classrooms, this experience allows the students a certain level of liberty to satisfy their own cultural curiosities and to develop their communication skills with their peers coming from different cultures and different countries. So the first meetings took place under our supervision and were designed as a journey that starts by talking about the past and heritage to move on to the present and the future, maybe. Then students were encouraged to get in touch without our supervisions to discover more about other countries and the cultural landscapes of the others. So as a result, each one-on-one meeting took its personal shape and led to a variety of outcomes, as will be shown later by my colleagues, by Elleni and Qin-Yu. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Hiba. Yes, and Elleni is next. We've not met Elleni in person, but of course, many times on the internet. And she's already contributed greatly to our project, and she brings a flair of classical Greece to bear on our project. Elleni, it's your turn now.
Thank you. And I will go ahead and quickly share my screen with you all. I'm all about photos, so I just have a few photos to show you.
And so, look at it in Greece.
So yeah, so my name is Elleni Gizas. and I am the Steinmetz Family Foundation Museum Fellow in Ancient Corinth, Greece. I work for the American School of Classical Studies, which is a research institution that has been excavating in ancient Corinth since 1896. My background is in Greek art and archaeology, and my role here at the Corinth Museum, alongside the Associate Director, Iulia Zonu, is to create and implement educational programs using the museum's collection. So Corinth does have a long history of outreach, primarily to local Greek students and to university students. But in 2014, a grant from the Steinmetz Family Foundation allowed for a single individual to work exclusively on outreach with the goal of sharing Corinth content in more places around the world, particularly where students would not normally have a chance to learn about archaeology or ancient Greece. So I'm the second Steinmetz Fellow. Before me was Katie Petroli. She's now Director of Education at the Parthenon in Nashville. So our programs include lesson plans, on-site programs, and online programs, particularly through the platform Skype in the Classroom. And since October 2017, we have Skyped with nearly 12,500 students in 44 countries around the world. When Corinth Excavations joined the Urkesh project in July, we had never Skyped with Syria before. So in the first phase, I had teamed up with Rania Sazakli, who's the Director of Educational Programs at the Municipal Library of Corinth. And together we were able to gather a group of 7 Greek students, 2 boys and 5 girls between the ages of 11 and 15. And so by the time we worked on our projects and Skyped later with Amer, Hiba, and the Syrian students, the presentations had grown significantly. On the Greek side, the presentations included aspects of Greek archaeology, sites in modern Corinth, personal interests and hobbies, and of course, Greek cuisine, because we all love to talk about food. So in addition to improving PowerPoint skills and their English skills, the Greek students expressed that this project taught them more about the monuments of Greece and Syria. It taught them about why these monuments are important. They expressed that it was meaningful to talk to children their age about important topics. About Syria specifically, they learned that, of course, Syria is a very ancient country with one of the oldest civilizations in the world. And they were also happy to learn about everyday life in Syria. In this moment, Alexander on the left is shocked to learn that his Syrian counterpart goes to school on Sundays. So little things like that that really made these Skype interactions really meaningful, or even learning how far away the Syrian students are from the beach, where at a place like Corinth, going to the beach is something that you absolutely do every day during the summer. So overall, the Urkesh one-on-one program really aligns with the mission of the Steinmetz Fellowship here in ancient Corinth, which is to disseminate archaeological research to audiences outside the academic sphere in order to bridge the gap between primary research conducted by archaeologists and classroom education. It was really rewarding to hear students really critically think about why these monuments and these sites are important to them, because they really live them in a very different way. So I hope we can continue this with more students in the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Elleni, and we love to see the Greek cooking too.
Yeah.
Now we'll go beyond Europe and have our view from China. We are just starting a joint program with Northeastern University in Xi'an with Qin-Yu, who is coordinating the work of 4 other graduate students and introducing the one-on-one project to young students there. Qin-Yu, we would be very happy to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And first, I want to say the public archaeology in China is in the ascendant, and I believe the one-on-one program provides a new method of introducing the archaeology to the public, especially to the young generation. On the one hand, the students would learn the knowledge of our history and feel the lives of our ancestors by visiting the nearby archaeological sites. For example, I am doing my field work in ancient Bin region site, which include the remains dating to the Neolithic age, the Bronze Age, as well as the Han Dynasty, and where students can find how long had people lived here, and what tools they used, and how they made pottery and so on in the past. I think it will arouse the students' awareness of where exactly they come from and how to protect their own cultural heritage. With the deep understanding of the heritage, I think they will be able to reach more young people. And on the other hand, this project also offers the opportunity for students to learn something about the foreign history and cultures, which will broaden their horizons and help them to see the world better. And this project also makes sense for me because I need to find interesting ways to express our academic research. So in the communication with students, I can understand the points of what they're really interested in and their attitude to the archaeology and to the cultural heritage. And I have written some popular science articles published on journals. It helps me to do this job, and I think this job will also help in my further writing. And since we are just at the beginning, I hope we could get more surprise in the future. That's all. Thank you.
Brava, brava. Very, very interesting and very exciting where this project is going in China. Now to conclude the section on inheriting the heritage, we go back to Syria with a very special project that has been launched by our longtime associate, Amer Abdelghafour. Amer, we would like to hear from you.
Hello, good evening. I'm going to talk about two points in my speech, and the first one I'm going to start is about the Mozan Urkesh Prize for the best heritage conservation paper. Okay, so in the past, we used to have students in our excavation from the Syrian universities. We used to teach them how to dig, how to excavate, how to research, all these things. But due to the current conflict, we have not been able to continue our presence in Syria, and we are not able anymore to have a direct connection with the Syrian students, to listen to them, to talk with them. And for that reason, we came with this prize, which is restricted for the first and second year students of the Syrian universities, of the departments of archaeology, history, literature, engineering, media, tourism. And they have to write about our approach to analyze it and to evaluate it, or also to come with the new suggestions if from their side, if they can provide us with new ideas. And the deadline for this the prize is the 27th of November, which is very soon, by the end of before the end of this month. So we encourage the first and the second year, because why I'm emphasizing with the first and the second year, because we received a lot of requests from students. They are in the third or the fourth year, or master students. But here we would like to do what we used to do in the past in Mozan, to take the students from the beginning of their career in the first and second year, to encourage them and to share with them about the archaeological research and the preservation, the cultural heritage preservation of site, especially in time of war. So we would like to encourage them to submit their papers as soon as possible, and to be a part of this, let's call it academic opportunity for them. The second point I'm going to highlight is our social media activities and the archaeological community. How social media is important for us as cultural heritage experts and archaeologists. It's important because social media is the new language of the millennia. I find it similar to the invention of the alphabet, where we moved from restricted number of people who used to be able to express their ideas, limited to the palace or the temple, while the coming of the alphabet using small number of characters or letters, everybody would be able to express. So there will be limited. And the social media, here we moved from the media to the social media, where every person can have an account, express their idea. And the second important thing about social media, we gather, we are together. We don't need to have a mask in order to be together. So we can gather as much as possible. We can hug each other. We can scream at each other online, and we can share ideas. We can confront, but we don't have to maintain social distancing. We can get as close as possible. What we are working on in our project, just a minute, I'm going to share with you the second.
That's a nice picture.
Yeah. It's from
Oh no.
Okay. So for the social media activity, to work on two levels. One is horizontal level and one level. On the horizontal level, we have the world as audience. So who is my target as social media channels for the project of is the whole world, every citizen all over the world, from Australia to Japan to America, to share with them our activities, our publications, or whatever we are working on. The second target for or the audience for us is the local community itself, because the local community is interacting with our social media channels, and they express sometimes concerns, take sometimes images. It's important for us, and up-to-date images. And also the third target is the scholars who are archaeologists and the students of archaeology and journalists as well. So we have been approached several times by journalists through our social media channels. And on the vertical level, we are talking about is the prize. For example, so we have limited number of audience, which is the first and second year of the university students inside Syria. So this is a limited number or targeted audience, what we call it, and we carry on at the moment. So, for example, we try to promote our publications, our have been mentioning, so, and the ongoing activities. And in the same time, as I mentioned, our social media channels is a way to communicate with the people on the ground. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Samer, and all of you. We come with this to the second major part of our presentation, which is we entitled it Tomorrow, meaning that the publication task and commitment is what will keep eventually Urkesh alive, really, for future generations. Now, we're really running short of time. And I think I will go, and with Merilyn also, we will go very quickly over our part, which is the description of what this thing that we call the Urkesh Global Record is. We'll go very quickly in order also to leave some space and time for some other special guests. But I would like instead to, how can I say, to challenge the institute of which we are the guests today, CAMNES, to give us time for another presentation, which will be only on the global record. So here we go very, very quickly. The problem of archaeological publication has always been one of delay. And the reason for this is that not so much practical money or anything, but really it's an intellectual problem, because we always tend to wait for new excavations that will validate or invalidate our current interpretation. Instead, we should really look for the possibilities of publishing immediately what we find, especially stratigraphically, because the stratigraphic observation will never change. And the digital medium is fundamental for this. I'd like to go back again to the first lecture in our series, the one by Sergio Russo, with this interesting title, Think About After the Dig, Before the Dig. In a way, what I like to do, if we get a chance to have another lecture on this topic, would be to interface, in fact, with Sergio and the work that the CAMNES people have been doing. Our goal has been, and that's what I like to, we like to illustrate now in really a few words, that the final publication can be reached thanks to the digital medium during the dig. It is actually a long history, and it will be a bird's eye view, a bird's actually who looks at it from very high up. So it will be a very, very panoramic view. Essentially, the core of the approach that we have is that databases, which is the approach normally taken, are static, and they do not really include an argument within the database itself. Our goal has been to link the argument and the data and to produce what we call a digital narrative. And to do that, we achieve that through a browser edition. A browser edition really differs from a paper publication in drastic ways. A paper publication, I put paper in quotes because it's not really just the paper publication that is of this type, but it's even a PDF is essentially a paper publication.
I'm sorry to interrupt, I'm sorry, but I think there are some issues with the sharing of the screen, because we are not seeing your screen. So if you...
Okay, let me go back. Sorry.
In the meantime, I said it would be a pleasure for us to arrange a new lecture. So don't worry, and thank you. Yeah, great. Okay, we can see that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I can't go back, and I'll do it longer than on our next meeting. But essentially, I was coming now to the point where I was saying that the paper publication is really not just a paper publication. That's why it's in quotes. A PDF is essentially a paper publication too, because it is linear and it's closed. That is, it's not really open to alternate levels, which a digital narrative instead is. Our project then aims and achieves a real-time link between the fieldwork and the publication in such a way that we do in fact have a final publication at the end of every day of excavation. At least final in terms of the stratigraphy, which is the critical issue for archaeology. How then can this be done? Unfortunately, we really, even if we had had the time we had originally allotted, we would not have had time to show you dynamically how the browser works. So we will just show you some screenshots. Beginning with A16, again, this will be an extremely fast look, so you will get just a mere impression of what's involved. If you click on stratigraphy and on overview, you get a general overview of the site. And what this shows you is how small essentially a unit is. this unit in particular is just 350 cubic meters. It's 8 normal squares, 5 by 5 squares. But the number of records, look, we have 4.5 million records just for this book, 4,500 photographs, etc. So the amount of the quantity involved is incredible, but it is easily accessible, and it's not just as a database. It is accessible if you click, for instance, on pavement. Here you have the argument you see that develops, and as you look at the elements, then you go back, you arrive at the database where the stratigraphic details of this particular pavement are shown. Now, what COVID has, one of the problems is, of course, the implementation. That is, how can this be done? There is a certain training, and we are doing that now in a special way because of the COVID situation in which we are. So here I will introduce Lorenzo Crescioli, who works with CAMNES and with us, and he joined us from Florence to tell us about the way in which he has been developing a school, really, for the dissemination of the global record. Lorenzo.
Good evening, everyone, or good morning, or whatever. I'm showing you some pictures now, a small presentation. So, okay. Professor Buccellati have already introduced the UGR. I want to start from one of the critical points that also he has highlighted, which is the amount of information we have to manage. One of the power of the Urkesh Global Record is the ability to manage all the information. In fact, we speak of global record. So all the information coming from single excavation units of such a large site as Tel Mozan. Of course, a system able to manage such large amount of data, it cannot be that simple. And I always remember when we were in Tel Mozan, Professor Buccellati was used to say to all of us, young, scared students approaching for the first time to the UGR, this system is not difficult, it is complex. And now I can say it is true, it's totally true. In normal archaeological season, how the UGR, which is a rather complex system, was explained to the students? Well, with general meeting showing both practical explanation and demonstration of the use and of the potentials of the UGR, but also with meeting between the members of each excavation unit, where the director was responsible to supervise the process and to teach both the functioning and the implementation of the UGR. But the real base of the formation was a continuous day-by-day practice, of course, always supervised, both in the field and in the house. Now, being far from the field, the canonical training technique cannot be applied. Aware of this problem and of the complexity of the system, I try to make this UGR school as easy as possible, explaining each single step of the whole process. We decide so far to do not use video conferencing instruments, and we created a series of specific instructions, and the goal is to form an additional corpus of didactic material supporting the already existing procedures also using the field that you can find on the website. So we start from the explanation of the several coded forms used in the field to record information. And of course, in this case, for this school, we are using forms already filled during a past excavation, and we choose in this case Unit In the first phase of the work, the forms have been entered in digital format to make them appearing in the browser edition of the UGR. The second phase that we have just started is a general review of the right-hand side of the analytical portion to find eventual mistakes and to get a general harmonization of the data belonging to these constituents. But practically, how do we proceed? The students work on single files, then they send this file to me. I run the program that transforms the text file into HTML pages, and then I update everything on the server. So students can, at that point, always easily access the most updated UGR on the Urkesh website and look at the results of their work. The third phase will be the work on the left-hand side, summarizing the information and preparing the excavation unit to a final digital publication in order to have a complete idea of the process from the field to the final publication. And that's it. Few words, but very long work.
Well, it's wonderful and very operational. Bravo. And we have now one of the students, Yingshan, who is benefiting from Lorenzo's course, who is joining us from China again. Yingshan, it's your turn.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Yingshan from Nanjing University, China. It is a great honor to speak here. My research area is about prehistoric figurines in the Near East. I have been learning and using the UGR for almost half a year. Firstly, the UGR attracted me deeply when I saw so many human and animal figurines. An anthropomorphic jar excavated near or inside the RB. As we all know, Urkesh was a major political and religious center of the Hurrians. The archaeological context of the figurines, such as the corpus of figurines from the royal palace, implies the human beliefs and living conditions. Secondly, the seal impressions and the cuneiform text on ceilings found in Urkesh, which I am interested in, also give a rich witness to the way people look and live. It also reflects the Hurrian's identity. Figurines may also refer to the cultural interaction due to the migration of people. This may be something like tokens, and the origin of the early writing identifies social management. Last but not least, the UGR shows the detailed excavation records, photographs, videos, and follow-up researchers. It is like a library of digital books, which is based on the rigorous internal grammar. And it is a good opportunity for me to learn the powerful recording system, information optimization, integration of elements, and the excavation process. And back to my work on UGR, I have been learning about the theory and the grammar parts. I did some work on Unit A20 by producing failures of Q logs, Q items, V logs, and so on to get better understanding the use of UGR. And when I do some exercise of the producing failures of the Q logs and Q items, I am confused about some handwriting. And now I'm going to complete the missing information inside the vlog with the help of Dr. Lorenzo. And finally, I would like to thank Professor Buccellati for his invitation and the organizer of this conference, and thank Dr. Lorenzo for helping me all the time. That's all. Thank you.
Brava, thank you.
Brava, thank you. And let's see now.
Amer.
We have to introduce Amer, and I have to share the screen again. Okay, so I want to show you just this picture we took in December 2011 was the last time we were there. And with Merilyn, here you see Ibrahim and Ahmad organizing our huge storeroom. And I want to introduce you again to Amer Ahmed, who hopefully can join us now magically from the staircase up to the storeroom. Amer, are you there?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I have faced some problem in connection on the stair. Here we are now in the storeroom, which includes thousands of books of archaeological materials. Many of them not yet analyzed. And Hamadi, under the supervision of Professor Merilyn, continues to analyze these potteries. As you see, these potteries, as you see, these boxes rearranged as it were in before 2011. These books, as you see, and I have lost the connection on the set. I would like to I wanted to say that Urkesh was in a regular connection with the local community. People have been coming to Urkesh to visit Urkesh constantly from the region, and they were expressing their feeling, their pride of their ancestor, and their interest in Urkesh monuments, and also Urkesh has always been the form of all the sects and nationalities in our region, such as Kurds, Arab, and Armenian. And in the final, I want to thank you all for this meeting, and I hope to do together and to be together, shoulder to shoulder, to protect this legacy. I'm in Urkesh, and I want to present you, as we have met Muhammad Omo, the guard of the mission, and Hamadi. I want to present you Ibrahim Khallo, who takes the picture for the mission.
Thank you very much. Yes,
bravo,
Amer.
Bravo,
this was
bravo,
wonderful,
Amer.
and very, very
Wonderful.
moving for all of us.
So I want, in a very few minutes, to just show you the complexity of the ceramics in the Urkesh digital record. It'll concentrate on A16. So I'll show you my screen to be able to show you hopefully I'm showing you my screen to be able to show you. From A16, so one excavation unit, we had about 60,000 vessels and sherds. And we analyze everything. And we are proud to present everything in an open source context. Okay, so we clicked on what the sherds, what the ceramics were like characteristically in A16. We see that one type of ceramics is chaff tempered, was almost 60% of all of the ceramics that we have. If we go to the chaff tempered page, we can see that there are the list of all of the chaff tempered sherds that we excavated. And that way we have the complete stratigraphy connected with these sherds. but also we have a database in a spreadsheet format so people can do their own analysis too. If we go to the topical book, that is the ceramics book, and we can see that in the ceramics book, on the right-hand column of the Urkesh page, we have the various horizons, so the time periods and the importance, both from a little bit of the stratigraphy, but mostly about the ceramics. So this shows you all of the stratigraphic units that were connected with the palace that we saw before. Okay, if we want to focus in, we can see a compendium of the shapes that we found in the palace. And here we're going to choose one shape, and those are conical cups, of which we had many. And we can also see details of the conical cups and rim shirts that were also connected with all of these shapes from the palace. And maybe the most interesting part for visually for you is to see the whole vessels. And these are some of the jars, which we have very many to show you. I think this is yours.
No.
Okay. Okay, this is the global, showing you the global record, one of the other units from the global record page. And we will show you much more in detail when we give our next lecture to calmness about the UGR. But for now, I want to conclude with this image that brings together the two major themes of our talk today. Our workmen, who you see here, were our first and very eager students. You see them leaning forward. They really were interested. Here I am explaining what we have been telling you today, because they were the first ones who painstakingly recovered this material. That is the almost 60,000 shirts from A16 and from all of the other excavation units. And so they were deserving to know why we so painstakingly recovered and analyzed all this material. And that introduction of the why and how was for us the first major contribution to community archaeology. And with this, I want to say thank you. And I also want to say thank you to all the partners we had who made this possible. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're done.
Yes, Valentina.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was really interesting with all these voices, different voices all over the world, actually. So thank you very much. Now this final part is usually dedicated to the audience and their questions. Unfortunately, for the moment, we don't have questions on our chat, and I would like to tell you again, if you have questions, if you are curious about something on this subject, you can write your doubts, your questions in the chat, in the YouTube chat, and I'm going to read those questions to our speakers. But in the meantime, I've got a question, so I would like to come back to the very beginning of the lecture, but also to the very beginning of the project as well. And I was wondering, when and how did you perceive the necessity to create a project like this, dedicated to the community and parallel to the archaeological, to the strictly archaeological one?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we never set out to do any of this. It just came.
Well, the global record, yeah.
Well, the global record is another matter, yes. But the community archaeology aspect was something that just came sort of out of common sense, just like our conservation approach is based simply on common sense and very simple matter means. We wanted really to, it wasn't an ethical need. It was simply a human desire to be understood by the people who were coming to visit us. And so.
And by our workmen.
And as Merilyn says, rightly, by our workmen, as she showed in the last picture. So we really, and the interest with which we had up to 100 to 200 even workmen at times. And the interest with which they were following these lectures, which we gave them weekly, was remarkable.
And I have to just tell you one personal comment. In the lectures, if I was groping for the Arabic word, because of course the lectures were in Arabic, I was groping for the Arabic word, they would immediately tell me from the audience, what the right word was. It was wonderful interaction with these workmen.
Yeah. And that gave us a charge, to expand it slowly. So we had the students from the local schools visit the site already while we were excavating. When the war came out, we were wondering whether we should continue at all, whether we should go some other place, which everybody else did, basically, of the excavations in Syria. Out of 100, we were the only ones who were able to continue. We were able to continue to some extent because we had set the basis for it. And there was this kind of understanding. And that's why it was very important that we had Amer tonight with us and
Yasmine,
Ibrahim and Ahmad on the one hand, and then Yasmine on the other, Hiba, who are all, and Samer, who are all our Syrian, they're really more than collaborators. In a sense, we are really a family. And this kind of feeling that we all had for the site became what propelled us into developing new programs like the ones for the school project that Stefania described, or the one-on-one project that Hiba described. One thing, in fact, that we always remind ourselves of is that we remain archaeologists. We are really not trying to become educators or social workers.
Or sociologists.
We really are ultimately and must remain archaeologists. The fact is that archaeology by itself has so much value that if we are archaeologists to the core, it speaks for itself. It's a value that comes out by itself. So it's important that we remain archaeologists, that we remain true to our call, and that we simply make it available.
Thank you.
And we were that we have this relationship with the local people, and especially fortunate to have Amer and Yasmine in Syria, because since we had this trust, we think, by the local people, we were able to carry forth this project.
Yeah, and we can feel this sense of family, this sense of community that you create. So congratulations even for those part, which was not only archaeological, but partially archaeological as well. We have 2 comments. Yara Mualla said, happy to join. So thank you, Yara, for being with us. And
it's part of the family too.
Oh, part of the family too. So yeah, in fact, she said, I have the pleasure to study the case of Mozan as a means to create human bonds and shape inclusively society. Thank you, Buccellati, for the great effort. And then another comment from Mary Stankiewicz. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to see everyone and to hear all of the wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
If you have questions, please write them. And in the meantime, I think we don't have any other comments, unfortunately. So I would like to ask you something else. I'm sorry, but I think that these different projects actually are really important for the communities, and not only for the archaeological world, but also for the communities, local communities. And I would like to link to what Stefania said. And I was wondering how the local communities, how do they feel this sense of identity connected with history and archaeology? How do they feel this sense of identity?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I can start to answer, and then perhaps others may add. So I will simply make an example from the students, what the students wrote in these essays that they exchanged with the Italian students. So basically, one of them, for example, wrote that, Urkesh, as we have seen, is in an area where many different ethnic groups live together. So it's a really mixed kind of region. And so there is the risk that people feel different identities, and this might bring to conflict. But one of these young students, she wrote that when she went to Mosan, she realized that these people who lived in the past in the palace, they were Syrians. So they felt that this again brought them together. So they were not Arabs or Kurds or any other, or Turks or Syrians, they were Syrians. So they were sharing these common roots. And we think that this is something, and also the idea that, for example, an archaeological site is something that it's there for them and something they have to care for, something they have to protect. So a really important thing is that Urkesh is still intact. As we have seen, there were no illicit diggings or anything like this. That's because people feel the attachment to the site. And so they protect the site because that belongs to them. It belongs to their past, and that is what brings them together. So I think that's so in this sense, archaeology creates a sense of identity. It really makes you feel connected to the territory, to the place where you live, and to the people who lived there before you, no matter their provenance or their ethnic group, labels that we attach sometimes to one person or the others, but for them, it's just their common, their shared past. So it really brings them together.
Great, thank you. It's really important that people consider archaeology like a common heritage, as it is actually. So thank you so much for your
Do you have the same experience with the one-on-one project?
Well, yes, actually, it was really impressive to see how the students, when they start to understand really the historical dimension of the site, and also through their questions, how they're trying to connect to the site and trying to find parallels with their modern society. So at the end, even though there are a lot of ethnicities who are living together, but people, for example, in Qamishli have the same habits. They all have agricultural economy. They kind of eat the same meals. So they have all of these cultural traits that are common, and they were trying to find parallels with ancient Urkesh. And in this way, they were belonging to it in the same time and in the same level. So many of them wrote in their feedback that they were so proud to find out about this history, and they were so proud to share it with someone from abroad, especially in these periods, because they lived like 10 years of war, so they were really young when the war started. So to find an intact site that is actually even visually attractive, and they were able to visit it, it has really big value for them because they were able to share something and to prove that they have something for their own country and as a Syrian people. So it was really important to bring them together and also to help them to communicate with others on personal level. So yeah, it was really impressive for me to see how they were perceiving the project, and especially, like, for example, when they described visiting the abbey, one of the students wrote, like, reading about it was nothing like living it. So she invited everyone to visit the abbey, and all of this wouldn't really happen if the abbey wasn't intact and actually beautiful to visit and understandable to them. So yeah.
If I may add one thing, it's beautiful, Hiba, what you said. Thank you. And I wanted to add something that might, to which Yasmine might have also something else to add, and Amer. And that is the role that the Directorate General of Antiquities and Museums is playing. See, we are operating there under a permit from the DGAM, as we call it, the Directorate General. And what is very significant is the total openness and freedom that the DGAM has always given us. That has, see, these different ethnic groups to which Stefania was referring exist and maintain their sense of individual identity on the one hand, and on the other, they also feel the greater sense of Syrianness, of being Syrian, precisely as these young people said. There was more than one, in fact, who spoke in those terms. And to the way in which they can express themselves and the way in which we can interact with them, even, for instance, as indicated, shown by this conference today, is really possible because of the very enlightened and open attitude of the GAM. Yasmine is the one who is keeping all of our contacts personally. We have, of course, the official contacts, but Yasmine is our face at the moment, and has been for these 10 years. Our face.
Has such a pretty face, too.
Yes, you're right. We have gained. I especially have gained by having Yasmine be my face. And I'm sure that the people in the GAM appreciate it in the same way. But so you might also say something about the relationship that we have with the DGAM.
Well, as you mentioned before, that we maintain this relationship and we always report to the DGAM about all the activities that we do on the site. And we always give them constant reports, especially when we have major operations regarding conservation or maintenance, like the one we had last year. We had a very big conservation operation, which actually required to hire extra workmen because the work was very big. So we always report to them, we always keep them in the loop about all of our activities, the ones that take place on the site, and also the activities such as the school activities and the prize and all of that. They've always been very, very open. They've always been very nice. They always facilitate our work. When I needed to go to Qamishli, it was war, and as you all know, the area of Qamishli is not exactly under the Syrian government's control, but despite all of that, they gave me a paper to facilitate my mission there, so no one can stop me on the checkpoints and all of that. And I never felt that the DGIM had the attitude towards the area as an area that is not completely under the Syrian control. They always think about it as a part of the Syrian land that needs to be protected, and they are always willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's just provide moral support sometimes, or that they acknowledge that we came to them with a problem or reported something to them that we're doing this or that. even if they cannot intervene actually, they are very supportive. They are always behind us, and they are always open-minded about all of our projects. And what I really, really like is when I go to the general director, he's always very happy to see me. He's always very happy because I represent the Buccellatis, and he's always asking about them with so much love. And he always says this sentence: anything Buccellati wants, it goes. So it's really nice. Like, you have always my 100% approval of whatever you want to do. So he has complete faith that what we are doing for the general benefit of the area. So they're very supportive, and it's warming, and it's really touching in during this time where everybody hates everybody and nobody gets along, to see this attitude towards this area. They treat it exactly the same way they would treat any other part of Syria. So it's an amazing thing to witness. And I guess that's the power of archaeology. It just removes those barriers between people. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And
Thank you.
thanks for continuing to represent us. And maybe also one last word perhaps from Amer, who has worked within the DGAM.
And has been with us as a very young child. So for many, many, many years, he's been our friend and our collaborator.
He's the future part of the young future.
Yeah, but it seems like we all came to you as children. I remember I was 19 too.
But Hiba is almost technically our child too, because I took her to the altar when she was married. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
I was the face before Yasmine with the DGIM. So I would like to highlight one point, that the unification of the feeling for the different ethnicities of the region is not the only thing that the mission played over the years working or acting there. Because I am not from the region. I am not from there. Yasmine is not from there, and others not from the region of Qamishli. But we used to work there and to be one family. And you have, I remember, like 4 or 5 ethnicities. They work at the same time in Tel Mozan. So the mission itself played the melting pot, let's call it, or the bridge in establishing the national feeling towards this legacy, not only on the local level, but on the national level of the country. Because we come from different universities in Syria, we come from different cities in Syria, different regions in Syria, and we used to work hand in hand together, day and night, every summer there. And when we go back to our cities and regions, we still involved not only on the academic level as communication, but on the personal level. So going back to social media, we have our own WhatsApp group where we greet each other, we congratulate each other. So it's a kind of human level as well, not only the scientific level the mission played to bring us together, but also the scientific level, but also the human level itself as Syrians from all directions of Syria.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amer. Thank you very much. I wonder, Valentina, if to close, if we want to ask Amer to say the last word from Mozan.
Yeah, if it's possible, absolutely.
Amer, are you on?
Oh, yes, he is.
We would like for you to give us the last word. It's really very moving for us to see you there. Are you there? Yeah, bravo.
Yes.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's wonderful, Amer.
It's my pleasure to see you again. I was so glad today to see you. I am very happy, and I want you all the health. I want you all to be in the near time. We will be reunited in Urkesh, and Hamade and Muhammad, Omo, Ibrahim. They are all say hello to all of you.
Thank you, Amer. Thank you, Amer.
Thank you.
Okay.
In the meantime, there's a question. So, and many different comments, positive comments about the presentation. So, thank you. And are you planning on resuming the excavations one day? That's the question in the chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. We would go the day if it were possible, and we in fact, one of the advantages of all the work we have done is that we will start exactly where we had left off. There will be no hiatus in terms of the situation at the site.
And we're very anxious to establish this park, which we had extremely detailed plans for. And so we really want to incorporate these 54 villages in the park surrounding the site.
Right. And the main difference will be that the director will not be Merilyn, and I will not be the associate director.
But we'll be there.
We'll be there.
We're not leaving.
We'll be there, but the new director is really Federico, who is really our child, because all of you are, but Federico in a very special way. And so he will actually be directing the new excavations, and we hope that all of the ones who have been seeing us today will be able online. They will be able to come to Mozan. Certainly Federico and all of these cohorts that you see here now will be there to greet all of them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we don't have other questions. As I said, many people said thank you for this presentation. And I would like to say thank you as well to all of you, actually, for your efforts, for being here from all over the world. And thank you also to the audience. Thank you for being with us today. And again, thank you, of course, Giorgio and Merilyn. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all your help, Valentina.
You're welcome.
To help it to go smoothly.
You're welcome, absolutely. So I think that there are no any other questions. Okay, so I would like to thank you again. And the next lecture will be next Wednesday, so November the 18th. At 5 p.m. Italy time. Andrea Polcaro and Alessandra Caselli will talk about new lights on proto-urban society of the southern Levant, last results of the Italian-Spanish archaeological expedition to Jebel al-Mutawak, Jordan. So thank you again, thank you once more, and see you next week.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.